Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I had a comment on one of the videos that I shot last week where somebody commented on my reference to a devolving society. And I know that I've used the term devolving and devolution quite a bit. Devolution simply my way of saying how a society, a culture devolves into chaos and collapses under the weight of its own vices and idiocies. I know there's a fancier way to say that, but that's really what it comes down to, that as a result of laziness and selfishness and self-centeredness and self-absorption and the worship of the wrong things, a society loses its way. And just as Glubb said in his Fate of Empires, finally collapses under the weight of its own iniquities. There's a fancy word. I don't mean to sound too biblical on this, but I thought that I would sit down for just a couple of minutes and talk about this. And my challenge tonight is going to be to make this video and at the same time my Lone Star does. It's a beautiful night. We just got back from going to dinner for my oldest 14th birthday. Drove down to Clinton, Missouri to Pizza Glen, our favorite pizza place in the whole world. If you ever drive through Clinton, Missouri, make sure that you stop off and have a pizza at Pizza Glen. You'll thank me for it. One of the reasons that I wanted to make this, and I wanted to get back and let that, and I don't remember, I'm sorry that I don't remember who it was that made that comment, but he suggested that it would be the good title for a book. And the funny thing is that I've already started an outline for another series. Now, I'm still working on the Stone Mott series. And I'm well into the fifth book now. The fourth book just came out, selling very well. Thank you all. If you aren't yet a Stone Motter or a reader of the Stone Mott series, we always put the links down below there of the video, and you can go and check them out and look on them on Amazon and see what other people have said about them, and decide whether maybe you'd like to read them too. But anyway, while I'm working on the fifth one, which is going to be called, what did I decide to call it? This last one was Appeal to Heaven, The Blessings of Freedom. That's going to be the fifth book. The things that are going on today, it started with the Big C, the Big C disease that I think I made my first video on in February. And then, of course, the responses to it. The responses to that, the thing that everybody's so worried about, and pretty soon into that process, I said that the economic impact was going to be far greater than the direct impact of the disease or of the virus, and we're seeing that. People have lost their jobs, they've lost their businesses with the mandated shutdowns by the states and the cities. People have lost their lifetime work in their businesses. They've lost their jobs that aren't coming back. I think I read last week something from Yelp, that thing that you go on to rate a restaurant. I never do, but I hear about it. That they, in a survey, said that somewhere of 2/3 of all those restaurants and bars who have closed down during this shutdown have not and will not reopen. Only 25% have reopened. 2/3 of those businesses are out of business, and there's no way to overstate the impact that has on families and individuals, but also on the national economy. People got through a little bit on that first round of stimulus, and now they're all excited about getting their second round of stimulus, and we've become a country of people who, instead of too many, not all of us, but that too many are excited about their next government check than they are about trying to get a job. And that's borne out by all those people who, because of that $600 guarantee on top of unemployment that they were getting, they were making more money not working than they had been working, and so they actually refused to go back to work at places that had jobs for them. That is dried up. Whether or not Congress is going to get something done to replace that, who knows? But it points out one of the great weaknesses in our current society, that people would rather stay home instead of work. I mean, I understand the financial judgment of it. I mean, why would you want to go work at a job you don't like if you can make more money sitting on your butt, right? But that's the kind of thought process that has been dragging this country down into the toilet for a long time. And we should be getting away from that. But it doesn't seem that we are. What's going to happen next if they get a second stimulus package? And they'll have to. They're going to. I mean, an election's coming up. Nobody in neither party wants to be the one that put a kibosh on the next stimulus that everybody's so excited about. And so there will be something, and it'll probably be equal to or more than the last one, simply because that's how politicians buy votes. But what this does, it creates an environment that's difficult to come back from. We're now seeing, because there was a forbearance on evictions and failed mortgages, we're now about to see that come home to roost. Now, these people who were able to stay in homes that they weren't making house payments on, that were able to stay in apartments that they weren't making rent payments on, the forbearance showed by credit card companies and things like that, that's about coming to an end. And now all these people who have kind of been riding this wave of stimulus checks and inflated unemployment are going to be, come head to head with reality that, guess what, now needs to be paid. And they're not going to be able to, so they're not going to. And so what we're going to see is another, I think, another real estate crash. And the economy sliding even further. They showed that a 32.9% decrease in the GDP in the last quarter. That's not something that a country comes back from easily. So what are we seeing? We are seeing a devolution. Okay, and this is what the main thing that I was saying here. What I'm talking too much. I should. If I'm going to finish this beer by the time that I finish this video, I better get started, right? Excuse me for just a second. Join me with yours if you have one. Still drinking Lone Star because I haven't picked up Schlitz yet. So that's why I have decided to start, and I'm not going to do it at the expense of the Stone Mount series, because I'm very, very involved in that. But I'm laying out kind of the diagram, and I've never done this before, to be honest, of a new series, and there's going to be 3 books of it, and the first one is called Devolution. It's going to track this downward spiral that started with the virus. Next was the economic impact, and the next, of course, are all these riots, these protests that have been hijacked. Well, first off, they started with situations and information that, like so often in the past, was not true. People jumped to conclusions The favorite American indoor pastime, jumping to conclusions. And of course got all wrapped up in the injustice of this and that and the next thing. And there was just no stopping it. Just no stopping it, because this is what America has become. And so it now has a momentum of its own, that I don't see being stopped for a while. We're watching the devolution of our country. That's the first book. What's going to happen as a result of that? Well, the second book is entitled Revolution. Not an original title, I know, but it's what I think is going to happen. That finally this thing has to go down to the bottom, and many of us have said this for some time, that there's not going to be any pushback against the things that are destroying our country until things are so bad that it's impossible to avoid it. Okay. I'll try to remember to make another announcement at the end of this video, if I can remember. At that point, when it becomes so bad, and the fracturing and the balkanization of this country has pretty much forced it, and it's not going to be racial, even though that's how many people are trying to portray it, because that's where they get their political power. Don't believe it for a minute. It's not racial. If you're leaning in that direction, and don't let yourself get sucked into that. It's going to be along the lines between the producers and the consumers, the givers and the takers, the builders and the destroyers. Okay. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be essentially the cities against the suburbs, rural areas, because those in the cities are the ones that suck up the resources from those who produce. Simple as that. I know it's a harsh way to say it. Tough cookies. I'd say another word if I weren't on video here. Tough stuff. Okay, that's the truth of it. That's the way it's going to be. And when we get to that point, then there is going to be a revolution on the part of those who have had it up to here, with being blamed, with being ridiculed, with being despised, with having more demanded of them every day to provide for those who don't provide for themselves or anybody else. And there is going to be a revolution that is going to be interesting to watch. And that's the name of the second book, I think I said, Revolution. The third book I now am titling Resurrection. And I don't mean that at all to be sacrilegious, because, when you hear resurrection, hopefully you think about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. There are some of you who don't. That's your business, not my business. But resurrection simply means to bring something back to life. Okay. And we need to bring back to life the American ideal. So my main purpose of this was just to let you know that, and whoever that was that made the suggestion, thank you. And I had already decided to name one that, and I put the guidelines out for these three books: the Devolution, the Revolution, and the Resurrection. I don't have a date. I don't have a target date for these to come out. I'm simply starting right now. As I said, my primary focus is still the fifth book in the Stone Mount series, Blessings of Freedom. And so, probably I would say that I would have the first in the new series well underway by election. And that will tell me kind of which way to go as far as how this thing is going to continue to devolve. Because whatever happens this election day, the mess is going to continue. It's just going to continue in a different way depending on who wins, right? Now, to this end, two things, and I'm I'm going to finish this video before I finish my beer, and I was trying to make them come out even. Kind of like, for you guys, I used to smoke and drink coffee, and the greatest challenge of smoking and drinking coffee was trying to make your cigarette and your cup of coffee come out at the end at the same time, right? You couldn't do it, so you had to have another cigarette or another cup of coffee. So excuse me. So a couple of things. First off, I would love hearing from all of you. I would love hearing your opinions, your suggestions about what you think is going to be happening as this devolution continues. What are we going to see from anybody, from either point? How do you see it going? I have my ideas. I have pretty good ideas. But I'd really be interested to hear what you all have to say. And to that end, also, I'm going to ask you if you would send this video around, if you'd send this to people that you know, and get them involved in this, if you would. You know, have them come over, maybe that don't normally watch this channel, and express their opinion on this. So that's the second thing. The third thing is, and I think I've mentioned this before, I had sometime back started a second channel called American Reversion. I didn't do very much with it because I got busy. Got involved more and more with the books, more with this channel, more with some other things, more with a couple of other businesses that I have. And so I didn't do very much with it. But I've noticed that here recently I've been doing more on the Integrative Preparedness channel here that has to do with social issues, has to do with politics and such as that. And while I'm not averse to that, this channel really is supposed to be about preparedness. And I understand that keeping up with current events, as preparing for this, is a vital, part of preparedness. But much of what I have to say really is more appropriate for what I had first intended American Reversion to be. So I took down all those, and I think I made mention of this in the last video, because I just saw when I went over, I had my oldest son, I said, go over to American Reversion, take down all of those old videos, because I wasn't satisfied with the way that I'd done them, and I want to start all over again. And he says, hey, you got 5 people that have joined just in the last day. So if that was you, I'm sorry. Maybe after my mention, people said, I'm going to go over there and subscribe. Well, I thank you very much. I've taken those down. So if you go up over there and you say, where are they? Well, they're not there, because tomorrow I'm going to shoot a new introduction for that channel. And then I'll be adding things that I kind of have a list. I had to keep a list of things that I want to talk about on videos, and some of them I've set aside to that list. It's pretty much just going to go over there instead of here on integrative preparedness. So that I'm going to get that started again, and I'd love to have you over there. And if you are in that camp that really is, concerned about what's happening with our country, as I am, I think that that's also a channel that you might enjoy, and I'd love to have your input and contributions, not money contributions, and your contributions in the way of comments and things like that, and spreading the word over there. So I think I'm going to try to shoot that tomorrow and get that up, and then I'll let you know over here. You might check it in the next day or two. It's going to be American Reversion on YouTube here. So I think that's about it. I still have a lot more beer than I have words. So it's a beautiful night. I'll just have to finish this in silence by myself instead of talking to you all. So those are the things. I do see bad times coming, real bad things. Get your house in order. If you were preparing before, prepare more now. Things are going to be, people don't realize, people have been putting it off. Fake money has been keeping this thing afloat, and it's about to dry up. And I think people are not ready for it. So whatever you've done in the past, keep on doing it, and I would suggest you do more. Try to make yourself as separate and independent from the system as you can, because the extent to which you are dependent on the system um, is the extent that where you can be victimized by elements within it, and you don't want that, right? And I'm going to be doing a couple, and I'm not sure whether I'm going to just put them over on Patreon or not. Talking about how organized crime and how other groups that are thought to be bad have been successful in living under oppressive situations, just in order to make sure that their families were taken care of. They're great and very interesting lessons. And I'm gonna have to think about it real hard as to whether to put it here or just limit it over to Patreon, but I'll do that soon enough. So I found myself down there peeling this label just out of habit from years ago. Some of you might chuckle at that. So I think that's it. Just to let you know that putting over a new channel over there, that things will continue here, just as they have. That there is a new series of books that I've outlined, and would love to hear your opinions on what you might think will be happening in the future in that series. And I don't know what I'm going to call the series yet, but the first 3 books are going to be Devolution, Revolution, and Resurrection. Hopefully out in 2021 sometime, the first one. And I think that's it. Give me your comments. Give me your thoughts. What do you think is coming? Because more and more. And I ought to thank here too. I ought to say thank you for everybody. Every day when I get on and I see that there are more subscribers and more people over there at Patreon, it's very gratifying. I appreciate it. And I'm really enjoying the comments. You all are sharp folks. We really enjoy that. And you help each other. So let's keep doing it, because it's going to be more important now than ever. As this goes on, it's going to be interesting times. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Have a good night. You probably couldn't see that. Where is it? There you go. Have a good night. And remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And if you want to live well tomorrow, up your preparedness starting right now and keep on going. Okay? And I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.